Coming up on Network Africa, 13 people killed in a hospital in El Fasher, Sudan. President Andry Rajoelina asked for a year to fix the country's challenges amidst anti-government protests in Madagascar. Ahead of the International Day of the Girl Child, UN wants girls to recognize their limitless potential. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. I'm Joke Rogers here in Lagos. We begin in Madagascar, where President Andry Rajoelina is requesting the nation grant him a whole year to resolve its varying challenges. He made the plea during a town hall-style meeting at his palace with various groups of government supporters, where he faced a barrage of questions. President Rajoelina told them, "I don't want flattery. I want to hear the truth. It's the people who kept telling me that everything was fine who are responsible for our current situation." The president also reaffirmed his commitment to serve out his current term, but ruled out seeking re-election. Instead, he asked citizens to give him one more year to fix the problems, especially power outages in the capital, or else he will resign his position as president. His promise comes as the nation faces days of protest by the Gen Z who have been calling for his resignation. Their representatives rejected invitation to attend today's talks, arguing that they cannot engage a government that has been repressing them as they demand basic human rights. They had given the president a 48-hour ultimatum to resign, after which they called for a nationwide strike, the details of which are not clear. To Ethiopia, which has accused Eritrea of preparing to wage war against it in collusion with an opposition grouping. This happening amidst the latest sign of escalating tensions between the two neighbors over control of the Red Sea. Ethiopia's accusation is contained in a letter sent by its foreign minister, Gideon Timotheos, to UN Chief Antonio Guterres, warning that the collusion had become more evident over the past few months. Eritrea is yet to comment on the letter. However, its relationship with Ethiopia has become increasingly strained in recent months. Ethiopia has been rallying support to regain access to the Red Sea, causing alarm in Eritrea as it took control of the coastline at independence in 1993. And at least 13 people have been killed in Sudan following an attack on one of the hospitals in El Fasher. The attack was carried out by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. They shelled the Saudi hospital several times on Tuesday night. Pictures of the attack showed shattered windows, cracks from shrapnel, a gaping hole in the mud brick wall, and twisted metal from hospital beds covered the floor. The RSF has been besieging El Fasher for more than 17 months, leaving hundreds of thousands of people stuck in the city, facing starvation. The paramilitary group is fighting the army for full control of El Fasher, the last military stronghold in the vast Darfur region. Every year, International Day of the Girl Child is observed on October 11 to highlight the challenges faced by girls globally and to promote their empowerment, education, and, of course, leadership. The UN's theme for this year is "The Girl I Am, the Change I Lead, Girls on the Front Lines of Crisis," recognizing this year's marks 30 years since the Beijing Declaration. Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the International Day of the Girl Child is a rallying cry to see girls for who they truly are, to listen to their voices and to recognize their limitless potential. The call to action is for girls to tell their stories by celebrating their achievements and amplifying their voices. Call for policies that protect girls' rights and enable their leadership now and in the future, to support safe spaces where girls can connect, learn, and get the support they need, and for dedicated funding and programs that meet the unique needs of girls in crisis situations, including health, education, mental well-being, and support for adolescent mothers. Let's get more on this. Joining us now is the founder, Girl Child Health Advocacy Initiative, Dr. Lola Alunge. Thanks for joining us on the program today.
Thank you. It's great to be with you today.
Right, so we have quite the mouthful for this year's theme, the Girl I Am, the change I lead, girls on the front lines of crisis. It takes my mind to what is going on in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Sudan, and other crisis areas. How can girls who are not in conflict zones interpret this so they can be on the same page as those who are, assuming these conflict areas are the focus of the theme? I also remember, the crisis in northeast Nigeria as well, where a lot of women and girls, are in IDP camps. They're the receiving end of a lot of the issues going on there.
Yeah, it's quite good to have the Day of the Girl Child celebrated annually, because this is an opportunity to actually spotlight the achievements of our girls and, of course, the challenges they're going through. And like you mentioned, in Gaza and many other conflict areas, it's quite a lot happening there. There's quite a lot happening there. The girls are obviously disadvantaged. But surprisingly, even in Africa, in places where the conflict is not as bad as that, the state of the girl child is obviously not the best. Starting with things like education, for example. If we look at conflict areas, most of the girls are not able to go to school. Most of them have to keep, maybe they have to find kind of alternative ways of educating them where they are. And we obviously know that education is key when it comes to development. Obviously, there's a lot to be done in the area of education. And we're, of course, even looking at cases like the health of the girl child, for example. In conflict areas, for example, this year we're trying to see how to distribute sanitary pads to young girls. There's what we call poverty period, which means when they are in their period, they can't easily, they don't have the right menstrual materials to use. So obviously the girl child is a disadvantage when it comes to health, when it comes to education. And of course, we also have cases of abuse. We have cases of child marriage. We have cases of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, all sorts happening to the girl child. But in spite of all that, there's a lot of effort going on globally, and of course, Nigeria as well. So a lot of attention has been drawn to the girl child in terms of especially education. There's a lot of programs going on out there trying to see how to educate the girl child. My organization, Child Health Advocacy Initiative, is part of the STEM training for girls. We're actually celebrating them tomorrow, and also trying to see how to let the girls know it's STEM, let people know STEM is not just for the boys, STEM is for girls as well. So it's a great opportunity to spotlight the girls, the challenges, and of course the progress so far. And of course, when girls are the ones who become the women of tomorrow, and when we're able to nurture and groom them well, of course, they will be able to contribute effectively to the development of the nation as well.
Right. Now, even though it pulls attention to, these girls on the front line, how does this provide hope to them and, those who live in the crisis parts of the world?
Yeah, unfortunately, the audio is not so clear, but I want to believe there's a lot going on, like I said. The girls are being supported. I'm aware, even in Nigeria, for example, there's a distribution of menstrual materials, menstrual pads to girls all over Nigeria, now by the First Lady of Nigeria. My organization and quite a number of organizations are also using this opportunity to distribute menstrual pads to the girls, because we notice that when they are during their period like that and they don't have access to such materials, they don't go to school. They try to stay at home. So we must be able to create an enabling environment for the girl child to thrive. And of course, we know, for example, when it comes to education, we have close to 18.3 million children out of school, and 60% of them are girls. And that is why focusing on the girl child, especially commemorating the Day of the Girl Child, is very key, so that we can see the gaps and see how each and every one of us can support the girl child, be mentors and sponsoring, and of course, doing everything to make the girl child thrive in Nigeria, and of course, in Africa and globally. Because obviously, like you said, conflict is in many African countries and all over the world. And if girls are not supported, we can't achieve much. We can achieve the SDGs by 2030.
Right. Dr. Alonge, I must thank you again for your time on the program. A pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
Let's move ahead. South Africa's former president, Thabo Mbeki, has called for stronger global collaboration to help Africa retain more of its wealth for development, industrialization, and inclusive growth. He was speaking at the 13th Pan-African Conference on Illicit Financial Flows and Taxation, held under the theme Honoring a Legacy, Building a Future. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samusa, has more.
The conference brings together policy makers, tax experts, civil society representatives, academic and development partners to review the progress made since the landmark high-level panel report exploring innovative strategies to curb illicit financial flows and promote tax justice across Africa. In his keynote address, South Africa's former president Thabo Mbeki reflected on the progress that Africa has made in curbing illicit financial flows over the past decade.
Our panel was therefore very happy that Africa's most senior political leadership, meeting in an African Union Assembly of Heads of State and Government in January 2015, adopted the panel's report, including its recommendations. It was and remains of great importance that this Assembly, African Union Assembly, adopted a special declaration on illicit financial flows.
Delegate says progress has been made in curbing illicit financial flows over the past decade, but much more still needs to be done.
$5.4 billion have been assessed in terms of tax, and 2.5 have actually been collected. $200.5 billion is in the bank. So for me, they may be little steps, but they are steps in the right direction. But in terms of the slow uptake, there are some solutions that we have all developed together, and these haven't been adapted by countries. So I would really call upon you, ladies and gentlemen of the press, to try and actually, make so much noise about this. There are solutions.
But there has been progress, and in terms of the way forward, I think continuing to have awareness and mobilization is one of the things we need to do. And yes, this is happening at different levels as well. To speak to your point, I personally have engaged with trade unions in my own country at that lower level and engaging, showing them how this thing relates to them, and they understand it.
Some say stronger collaboration amongst nations is key to boost tax justice across Africa.
It's time for nations to write laws that say, in the business of import and export of goods or services or intangibles, to price a transaction in such a way as to intentionally avoid income taxes or excise taxes or customs duties or any other form of government revenue is illegal.
As discussions wrap up, delegates agree that curbing illicit financial flows will require not only stronger policies, but also united action to ensure Africa's wealth truly benefits its people. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the program. Nigerian veteran broadcaster and former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Christopher Kolade, died at the age of 93. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're still in South Africa. One of the most historic universities has suspended its activities following violent student unrest, which saw several buildings set on fire. The University of Fort Hare has said several campus buildings, including the main administrative and student affairs offices at its main Alice campus, were torched in petrol bomb attacks. According to the university and the police, no injuries or deaths were reported. However, a student leader told local media that 2 students were injured in clashes with security officers. The unrest reportedly followed changes to the way students are governed. Students have also been demanding the removal of the university's vice-chancellor. Meanwhile, hundreds of supporters have gathered at the OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg to welcome members of the global Sumud flotilla, including Mandla Mandela, following their detention in Israel after the interception of a Gaza-bound aid convoy. Mr. Mandla, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, says they were handcuffed with cable ties tightly behind their backs, were taken off their boats and paraded for all Israelis and their allies. He recalled that every item they had was stolen, denouncing the harsh detention conditions, and recounted how Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir attempted to dehumanize the flotilla members but was blocked by a police chief. Last week, Israel intercepted the global Sumud flotilla, a convoy of 42 vessels attempting to reach Gaza by sea. Around 450 participants, including activist Greta Thunberg and Mandla Mandela, were reportedly detained.
47 of our boats were intercepted. We were detained by apartheid Israel Navy and taken to Ashdod, many of whom were denied food as we sailed to Ashdod, handcuffed with cable ties tied tightly behind our backs, taken off our boats and put on the platform, paraded for all the Israelis and the allies in Europe and the West and the global community to see.
They came back with approximately 35 soldiers. We had rifles pointed at our foreheads, backed against the room to take out forcibly 2 of our comrades to solitary confinement. We are a direct, non-violent movement. We were 10 or 12 women, I cannot remember, in the cell, yet they responded to us with this type of brutal violence.
In Nigeria, former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commissioner and boardroom doyen, and also a former Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Dr. Christopher Kolade, has died at the age of 93. A statement from his family says the late broadcaster and teacher died peacefully on Wednesday, October 8. The statement reads in parts, "We are thankful for his incredible life of faith and service and are grateful for God's abundant blessings." Dr. Kolade was born in Erioke, Osun State, Nigeria in 1932 and completed his secondary education at Government College, Ibadan, after which he studied at Fora Bay College, Freetown, Sierra Leone. He worked as a broadcaster and later served as the Director General of the National Broadcasting Corporation, NBC. He also served as the Chief Executive and Chairman of Cadre Nigeria PLC. He was also Nigeria's former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. Dr. Kolade promoted business integrity in Nigeria through his chairmanship of organizations such as Integrity Organization Limited and the Convention on Business Integrity. The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission will, in collaboration with the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, hold a virtual interactive session titled impact of the new tax reform laws on Nigerians in the diaspora. The session, scheduled to hold on Friday, October 10, 2025 at 4 p.m., aims to enlighten Nigerians living in the diaspora on the implications of the recently enacted tax laws, while providing an open platform to clarify issues and address grey areas concerning compliance and obligations. Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Mrs. Abike Dabiri-Erewa, said that the upcoming dialogue reflects the federal government's commitment to inclusivity and transparency in policy implementation, adding that as key contributors to national development, it's essential for Nigerians in the diaspora to be fully informed about the new tax framework and its potential implications for their economic activities. I guess Nigerians everywhere are still celebrating the nation's 65th independence anniversary as Nigerians living in South Africa gathered in Pretoria to hold a celebration filled with music, color, and reflections on national pride. The event brought together members of the Nigerian community, diplomats, and friends of Nigeria to honor the nation's journey since 1960. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samusa, attended the celebration and spoke to some of the guests.
Nigerians living in South Africa painted Pretoria green and white as they came together to celebrate the country's 65th independence anniversary. I captured the spirit of the celebration and hear what this milestone means to Nigerians in the diaspora.
It means a lot for me. Just to compare, a 65-year-old child. So Nigeria is not just it's not just about the age. It's about that it's a giant of Africa with at all ramifications. Now, it's actually for us in diaspora a time to sit back and think where we took this nation from till date.
We must build on our resilience, we must build on our unity and build a more viral and progressive nation. And I really would want every one of us as Nigerians to come together, ignore the differences that we have. There's so much we can accommodate together and make our country a great nation. That's what I wish for our country. I don't want to be there, our spiritual leaders. I don't want to be there, I don't want to be there, yeah, but I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there, I don't want to be there, I don't want to be there,
Some believe Nigeria has lived up to its potential over the years, but much more still needs to be done.
Absolutely. Nigeria has a lot of challenges, but if you look from independence and you follow the trends, of course, a lot of people want Nigeria to be in a better position. But I think when you look pre-independence where we are, we have lived, considerably close to our potential.
65 years is not a joke. It's nearing retirement. In fact, it's actually retirement. I'm actually not happy with the state of Nigeria. But as a person and organization here in South Africa, I've seen growth and progress, and we are not yet there, because one thing that bothers me most is the unity amongst Nigerians in diaspora.
Nigerians in South Africa say their hope is for a more united, prosperous and peaceful nation, one that continues to inspire pride both at home and across the diaspora. From Pretoria, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
And as we close the program, did you know that Equatorial Guinea is the only African country where Spanish is an official language? Its culture reflects a captivating blend of African and Spanish influences. The country boasts lush rainforests, pristine beaches, and diverse wildlife, with continental region home to animals like gorillas, leopards, and elephants. Well, now you know. That's our program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Joke Rogers.